Close your eyes and imagine standing on the same patch of earth for 2,000 years, watching everything change around you. A muddy island in a cold river becomes a Roman town. The Roman town becomes a medieval city of narrow streets and candlelight. Kings rise, a revolution burns. Towers of iron climb into the sky. And through all of it, the same river keeps flowing past, carrying the reflection of a city that simply refused to stop reinventing itself. This is the story of Paris. Not the postcards, not the tourist photographs. The full story, from the very beginning, of how a swamp became the most beautiful city in the world. It begins with water. Around 250 years before Christ, a Celtic tribe called the Parisii settled on a small island in the middle of a wide, slow river. The river is the Seine. The island is what we now call the Île de la Cité. They choose it for a simple reason. An island is easy to defend, and the river is a highway for trade. They fish, they mint their own gold coins. And for 200 years, this little island settlement quietly grows. Then, in 52 BC, the Romans arrive. Julius Caesar's legions sweep through Gaul, and the Parisii are defeated. The Romans build their own town here, and call it Lutetia. They do what Romans always do. They build a forum, public baths, an amphitheater for the games, and they expand the settlement onto the left bank of the river, climbing the hill we now call the Latin Quarter. For 300 years, Lutetia is a modest but comfortable Roman town. And then, as the Roman Empire begins to crumble, the people retreat back to the safety of the island where it all began. By the Middle Ages, the city has a new name, taken from those original people, the Parisii, Paris, and it is growing fast. In the year 1200, King Philip II paves the muddy streets, builds a wall around the city, and begins construction of a fortress on the western edge to guard against invaders. That fortress is called the Louvre. Centuries later, it will become the greatest art museum on Earth. But for now, it is cold stone and arrow slits. On the island where everything started, something extraordinary is rising. In 1163, work begins on a cathedral that will take nearly 200 years to complete, Notre Dame. Its flying buttresses, its rose windows, its towers become the beating heart of the city. Around it, Paris becomes the intellectual center of Europe. The University of Paris draws scholars from across the continent. The narrow streets fill with students, merchants, monks, and tradesmen. This is the Paris of cobblestones and candlelight, of bells ringing across the rooftops, of a city packed tight within its walls. Paris is the stage for the drama of French history. Kings build palaces. The city spreads outward, swallowing villages, breaking through one ring of walls after another as it grows too big to contain. By the 1700s, Paris is one of the largest cities in the world and one of the most unequal. Glittering wealth beside crushing poverty. And then, in 1789, it explodes. On the 14th of July, a Parisian crowd storms a royal prison called the Bastille, and the French Revolution begins. The streets that had known kings now know the guillotine. The monarchy falls. The city becomes the center of a political earthquake that reshapes the entire world. Through the chaos, through the rise and fall of Napoleon, through empire and republic and back again, Paris endures. Scarred, transformed, but still standing. By the middle of the 1800s, Paris is suffocating. The medieval streets that once charmed the city have become dark, overcrowded, and disease-ridden. So the Emperor, Napoleon III, hands one man an almost unimaginable task: tear down the old Paris and build a new one. That man is Baron Haussmann. Over the next 17 years, Haussmann does something no city had ever attempted. He demolishes huge swaths of medieval Paris, displacing hundreds of thousands of people, and replaces the tangle of dark alleys with wide, straight boulevards lined with elegant cream-colored stone buildings. He builds parks, fountains, and an underground sewer system so vast it becomes a wonder of the modern world. The Paris you picture in your mind right now, the grand avenues, the uniform rooftops, the sweeping perspectives, that is Haussmann's Paris. It was the most radical urban transformation in history, and it gave the city the face it still wears today. In 1887, in a field beside the Seine, workers begin assembling something the world has never seen. A tower made entirely of iron, designed by an engineer named Gustave Eiffel for the upcoming World's Fair. It is meant to be temporary, a showpiece, something to be torn down after 20 years. Many Parisians despise it. Artists and writers sign a furious petition calling it a monstrous iron eyesore that will ruin the beauty of their city. But piece by piece, rivet by rivet, it rises. 18,000 individual iron pieces, 2.5 million rivets. And in just over 2 years, with no modern cranes, it reaches a height of 330 meters, becoming the tallest structure on Earth, a record it will hold for over 40 years. When it opens in 1889, the world is stunned. And slowly, the Parisians who hated it begin to love it. The tower that was supposed to be demolished is saved, partly because it proves useful as a radio transmitter. But really, it is saved because the city has fallen in love. The Eiffel Tower stops being a temporary exhibit and becomes the eternal symbol of Paris itself. Today, it is impossible to imagine the skyline, or the city, without it. The 20th century brings the city its darkest hours: 2 world wars, occupation, the threat, in 1944, that the retreating German army might burn Paris to the ground. The order was given to destroy it. The order was never carried out, the city was spared, and Paris, as it always has, survived. Today, if you stand on the banks of the Seine, you are standing in a living museum of 2,000 years of history. The island where the Parisii fished, the stones of a Roman town beneath your feet, a medieval cathedral, a royal fortress turned art museum, boulevards dreamed up by an emperor's planner, and an iron tower that was never meant to last, watching over all of it. Paris was never built in a single moment. It was built in layers, century upon century. That is the secret of Paris. It is not one city. It is every city it has ever been, all at once. The Celtic island, the Roman town, the medieval capital, the revolutionary battleground, the emperor's masterpiece, and the city of iron and light. All still here, all still breathing. A city that, after 2,000 years, still refuses to stop reinventing itself. If you enjoyed traveling through time with us today, stay a while. There are more cities and more stories waiting to be remembered.